We are back on Morning Line. Our guest is Clint Kelly, malpractice attorney. Questions about a case, a condition, something you're dealing with under the law? Give us a call. We'll get the number up there. And we've got some folks waiting through the break, Clint. So let's go next to Joe. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Nick.
Hey,
There's Joe.
Just first of all, I want to say, people, I appreciate Mr. Kelly coming on, and people need to listen to everything this man has said because it's all truth. The oversight committee for doctors is made up of doctors, and there's not a real good system when a doctor sometimes messes up in one state that he winds up going to another state and goes right back into the profession again. But that being said, I had a doctor tell me this one time. He was going to do surgery, and he said, "You might want to think about it." And I said, "Well, you know, I've been thinking about it, but I'm at the point where I've got to do something." He said, "Well," said, "let me tell you something." He said, "There's no such thing as minor surgery. And any surgery that you have is major surgery because when they put you to sleep, it's not minor anymore." So I said, "Well, we'll go ahead with it." But anyway, he's already stated, and everybody needs to listen to what this man said. Ask all the questions you need to ask. If you're going to have any kind of surgery, ask all the questions. If doctors don't like it, that's tough, then you need to get you another doctor. And I had bypass surgery in 2013, and Mr. Kelly knows well who the surgeon was that did it. I've done more than anybody in Nashville. And he had just come out of surgery, and it was about 7 o'clock in the evening. He was tired, and he said, "Well, I see that you got some arteries here that can't be corrected except by surgery." I said, "Well, that's what they tell me." He said, "Well, they tell me you don't want to have surgery." I said, "Well, I don't really want to have it." He said, "Well, if you don't want to have it, there's no use me talking to you." I said, "No," I said, "just hold on just a minute. Let's cover this a little up." I said, "What I want to know is, I'm a lot older than the last time you did this, and I want to know what my chances are." He said, "Well," he said, "I'm going to run you through a battery of tests before I'll even do it to begin with. And the second thing is, if I didn't think you would make it or I thought there was going to be a problem, I wouldn't do it."
No,
"Well, what is the chances?" He says, "I think you got a 90% chance of making it. Well, you know, if everything turns out good." I said, "Well, let's go ahead with it then."
All right, Joe mentions, and thank you for that example, Joe. I assume, and you know, I guess who his doctor is, it's a very fine cardiac surgeon or something along those lines. How the heck do you know whether or not your doctor's good? Can you go and find out how many claims or lawsuits have been filed against them for malpractice, things like that?
Yeah, well, okay, let's dial back first. How do you know? My wife's surgeon, plastic surgeon, went to high school with me.
Okay.
And he's an outstanding surgeon. And he takes the time and he sits and he discusses all the things you need to know about the surgery. And he'll sit and wait until you are comfortably understanding of everything. That is the hallmark of a great surgeon who's doing his job, okay? You can find out information about doctors by going online. The Department of Licensure has a website. You can type in the doctor's name and find out whether they've paid malpractice settlements in the past.
Okay, good. That's a good thing to check on.
But word of mouth is always, I think, the best way to find out information about a doctor, because what's on the web oftentimes is just false.
Yeah.
True and bad. I've seen doctors defamed who are good doctors and are defamed on websites. I've also seen bad doctors who have these glorious reviews. You think they're 5-star and they stink, okay? You don't know, but word of mouth is generally correct, and that's the best way to find a good doctor. But getting back to Joe's point, no minor surgery is really minor. The doctor who sits and explains the procedure to you in detail, that's the doctor you want. The doctor who doesn't have the time of day for you, who doesn't want to spend time talking with you about the procedure, that's a doctor you typically want to avoid.
Let me ask you this, and I understand what you're saying, bedside manner, and I think that's a clear indicator. But is that clearly an indicator of their skill in the OR? Because I think I could bypass a doctor who's a little prickly if I knew he was the best cardiac surgeon in the world and I knew that his work in my chest was beyond compare. Now, I don't know how I necessarily know that, but I'm more interested in what he actually is doing in my chest than whether or not he's nice and chatty with me in the recovery room.
In my experience, Nick, this concept of a doctor who's prickly being great is a false concept.
Okay.
The great doctors have great bedside manner.
Gotcha.
Period. End of story. The ones who don't have good bedside manner, who may be so-called good technicians, it's my experience they're really not good doctors anyway.
Gotcha. I'm glad I asked that because
I don't know. Somehow this myth got created. This super duper doctor technician who's got poor bedside manner. That is a false myth. Those people typically don't exist. Great doctors are great doctors because they sit and explain things and they know what they're doing.
So it's a total package and it's reflected in their work when they're operating on you.
That's my experience.
Excellent. Well, yeah, you have a heck of a lot of things you've seen, so I trust you. Let's go next to, I believe Chris is, well, let's see. I think it's, Chris is on, oh, okay, I'm sorry. We'll go to LaWanda. There we go. Hi, LaWanda. Are you there, LaWanda? Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
My question is not about the doctor. It's about the supplier of a titanium plate that is now cracking. I'm facing extensive surgery one more time, rehab of I don't know how long. Could I file a suit against the manufacturer of this titanium plate?
LaWanda, when was that titanium plate installed in your body?
It was installed on June 30th of this year.
And you're saying it's cracked and needs to be replaced?
Yes.
Do you know what kind of plate it is? Is there a description for it?
All I know is it's the titanium plate that they put in the leg.
Okay. LaWanda, what I want you to do is call my office and you'll see the number. It's 615-8000000. Call that number when the office opens, and it should be open by now, and ask to speak to Michelle and tell her everything you can about this. There are some medical devices that are the subject of what we call multi-district litigation. You and I did a story one time on the Bear Marina, you know, the IUDs.
Yeah, that's right. So it was a class action kind of? Is that what it is?
Correct.
All right.
It's kind of like a class action. There are some devices that have a track record of breaking down, and it could be something in the manufacturing process that went wrong. The answer to LaWanda's question is yes, you can sue. It's not the supplier, it's the actual manufacturer of that device. You can sue them under a products liability claim.
Okay.
But you want to be part of a larger lawsuit, this class action like lawsuit, because it's easier and cheaper to hold the manufacturer accountable. If it's just a one-off, it's much, much harder to pursue that claim because they're so expensive.
So the idea is she may have a plate where there are other patients just like her who are having the same problem, and they are all getting together through various attorneys to file this as a team.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, listen, LaWanda, what we'll do is I'll put you on hold, but if you watch, we'll put the phone number up at the end of the program, and you can make that call. And basically, this is what we say all the time. When folks have possible cases, it doesn't cost you anything. And again, she'll tell the details to your assistant, correct?
Correct, to Michelle. I mean, the process is you give a history, if you will, to Michelle. That's the one that does all my medical malpractice intakes. It's completely confidential. Michelle will supply that information to me. I'll make a judgment whether I think that case has merit, and if it does, I'll contact the client, set up a meeting, and go forward. And again, it's completely confidential and it costs nothing.
Is that good, LaWanda? Are you good with that?
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
So much.
Stay tuned. We'll have the number up. And good for her. Here we go. The most important thing in her phone call was that surgery occurred in June and she called you now. Because if she had waited until next July, it would have been too late.
Yeah, and it costs her nothing. I mean, it may not be a case. It may be a situation where that particular product was bad, but in general they're pretty good, and it may not be a case, but it may be a case. But the thing is, she's going to find out the answer, and it's going to cost her nothing.
Yeah. How can you argue with that? Yeah, 1 year statute of limitations. Let's go next to Linda. Hello, Linda. Hi, Linda.
Good morning. I think I'm going to be repeating what you all have already talked about, but my orthopedic surgeon, actually, after he had explained what was going to be going on, came through in OR prep, and he himself marked the knee he was going to do surgery on, and asked me if that was correct before they started sedating me.
Smart.
And so I just want to make sure everybody really understands that it's up to the patient also to make sure that it is the correct side or elbow, or like you said, arm or whatever. In my case, it was the knee, and I mean, he put a big old black X on the right knee, and then we went from there. So sorry to repeat what you just said, but I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
I appreciate that.
I'm glad she brought that up. And look, any way you can help your doctor get it right, by all means do it. The good news is Linda was conscious. The cases I've had, the patient wasn't. By the time the doctor comes into the OR, the patient's out under anesthesia, and so they can't help at that point.
Right.
But there are situations where before the surgery, the doctor will come in and meet with you, and sure, I would absolutely tell the doctor, remind the doctor, hey, you're going to work on this right knee and make it good, aren't you, doc, or something like that, as they mark it up to make sure that it's done right and on the right body part.
Linda, thank you. Listen, let's take a break. When we come back, Chris and others, we'll get to your phone calls, final segment. If you want to join us, a couple lines open. We'll take you with Clint Kelly, malpractice attorney, right after this.